Definition on BBC One HD. It's time to tough it out in Italy.
Three, two, one, go!
After the year's motor racing classics, the Italian Grand Prix at Monza.
And the atmosphere is unbelievable.
This final corner, the famous parabolica, feels incredible in the cockpit of an F1 car and even better when you're driving to victory.
David Coulthard exits the parabolica and wins the Italian Grand Prix.
Victory here is extra special. To be on the top of the podium at Monza with your own team, you never forget it.
There is the extended Eddie Jordan.
A really tight bunch of cars streaked across the line to a photo finish.
On Hill hits Schumacher and they both go off. Amazing.
And for us fans, well, just like since the 20s, it's all about speed. And if there's one thing that we love, it's speed.
Listen to the crowd. A bunch of cheering, gesticulating, shouting, overjoyed Italians.
The Italian Grand Prix this year is more thrilling than ever.
Welcome to Monza. And to some, this place is just 3 miles of tarmac in a suburban park. But I'd bet those people aren't Italians. To the natives who love racing, this place is everything. A shrine to the past in a sport that is always looking to the future. And the immediate future is the chase for pole position. Good afternoon and welcome to a very hot and sunny Monza circuit for qualifying live for the Italian Grand Prix with myself, David Coulthard and Eddie Jordan. And when I say Monza, what's the first thing that springs to mind, Eddie?
Absolute passion and speed. Jake, I don't know if you know, but 9 of the quickest ever races in Formula One have happened here. This is a speed track.
Wow, and David knew all about speed in his career. I suppose the first thing that jumps into your head when I say Monza is 1997. Is that the standout memory, or are there other things that you think about?
Well, actually, when I think of Monza, I think of the Tifosi. Obviously, it was fantastic to win the Grand Prix here. It's one of the historic tracks and incredibly proud to have that in my CV. But the Italian fans are very, very special. You've got this craziness when you drive into this track, but look at them there, a sea of people out on the start-finish straight. And even though clearly I'm not driving for Ferrari, there was a lot of excitement for the fact that we've seen a great Grand Prix.
That's a mighty impressive trophy as well. Where's that now? Did McLaren keep hold of that?
McLaren keep all the originals.
Oh, do
and
they?
have a replica up in Scotland. Well, actually, they keep all the originals apart from the one that Alain Prost dropped off that podium. When he'd signed for Ferrari the following year, he dropped the winning trophy down into the Tifosi.
Very nice.
You never let a racing driver on the hands of a real trophy because you never know where it will wind up, eBay or somewhere else like that the next day.
Yeah, there's a man talking from experience, no doubt. Where are your trophies, actually?
There's so few, I don't even know
races?
where. No, they are upstairs in a loft in my garage, which I have tucked away so no one else can see them.
Very good. You being far too modest, of course. So there you go. Both of these guys have won round here, which I guess was thoroughly disappointing for the thousands of people in the grandstands, because if you look up there at that podium, there is only one colour that they want to see standing on the top step. It isn't silver, and it isn't yellow. And suddenly we've arrived where it's very busy indeed. You'll have to take my word for it, but somewhere behind this crowd over there is the Ferrari garage. There are hundreds of people, hundreds of cameras, everybody hoping that they can see something special from Ferrari this weekend. We saw that 12 months ago, an incredible 1-3 for Ferrari. However, looking at the cars on track, David, it's going to be a struggle to repeat that, I think, isn't it?
Well, so far through the Friday practice and then, more importantly, the Saturday morning practice, where the teams will focus in on their qualifying, Ferrari have been looking to they haven't had that last little spark. None of the three sectors that are used for timing around this track have they been able to be close to topping the times. So unless they pull something special out between now and 2 o'clock, then I think that they're going to be a few disappointed Italians here.
And I'm amazed, Eddie, they haven't got this right, because I kind of imagine a small room somewhere at the Ferrari factory that is dedicated just to this race, to design a car at the start of the year that they know is going to fly around this track. It is their most important race. It's more than just a win, isn't it?
Well, of course it is. I mean, there used to be in the old days, we used to always say when we were all allowed 3-litre engines, or they were always allowed 3.5-litre. I mean, it was a bit of a common joke between the other teams. It was called a Ferrari advantage at Monza, but that could be the Tifosi as well. You just don't want to make reference to that. The fact is, Ferrari is expected to win here. The people have come here in droves to see that, and it's always a disappointment if they're not on the top of that podium at the end of the day tomorrow.
And if you take a quick look at the calendar as it stands, this is the last of the low downforce circuits for this season. So if Ferrari are going to do something, really it's going to be very difficult in places like Singapore, South Korea, Abu Dhabi.
Well, it is changing. I mean, we historically would never even count on Red Bull being really strong here. But then look what's happened. It's changed. I think the DRS has had a different perspective on racing, because people now can run in qualifying with slightly more downforce in the knowledge that they know they can use the DRS in the race or something like that. So the strategy has changed, and therefore what we've been expecting to see traditionally, I think, has somewhat changed. And don't rule out the case that, you know, who expected Ferrari to win at Silverstone? Very few people. True. And they pulled it out of the bag, and they could definitely pull it out of it. Their emphasis is on the race, not the qualifying. OK, well, talking about people surprising everybody, it was here in 2008 where Sebastian Vettel got his first win, of course, driving for Toro Rosso, who around here they think of as an Italian team. You were driving that day, David. You were in the Red Bull. Tell us, from a driver's perspective, what did you learn about Sebastian that weekend? Well,
he was incredible. He was in pole position in the wet. He drove away at the front and then also dried up towards the end, but he showed his class. There was no question. You know, that's been the best success for Toro Rosso, and this has showed us something. Look at this little touching wheels there with Mark Webber. It showed us a sign of something to come in the future, and Mark obviously in the sister team car there at Red Bull Racing. So yeah, it was a remarkable victory. And no surprise there, you get a shot of the crowd, and the crowd are all wearing Ferrari hats. However, Ferrari are going to have their work cut out here, because not only are they not the fastest car at the moment, they're up against a guy who picked up his first win here, and since then has got rather well used to the taste of champagne.
Vettel gets away well off pole. Rosberg absolutely flying once again. Mark Webber just didn't get going. And look at Massa up there into second place now. Contact behind. Bruno Senna went in too deep on the brake. Rosberg takes the lead of the Grand Prix with tremendous straight line speed. Alonso so much faster off radio. Hamilton fancies a look back.
Yeah, he is, but Alonso defends well. Obviously no DRS at this point of the Grand Prix.
Rosberg having to go defensive. Sebastian Vettel with the speed and the wing available takes that lead comfortably.
Fernando Alonso powered off the top of the hill there in turn 6.
He's got in too deep. Can Massa come back underneath? Alonso's now got the racing line into the left-hander. Hamilton surely's got a chance to get in there as well. Hamilton comes off the corner much better. He has to almost touch the grass to make it work. Alonso very fast off the top of Radion again. He's got to go the long way round though as they climb the hill. Alonso comes out just in front of Mark Webber, so it's worked quite well for Mark Webber too. And Webber then fancies a run. Oh, they're so close on the way in, and Alonso had to yield, and just as well he did. Oh, they're contacted. Hamilton into the barriers, and Kobayashi came back up the outside of him. Lewis clearly wasn't aware that he was there. Look at how close then Button is to Massa. And he tries down the outside. Massa, will he let him turn in? Oh, he's got through. And another brave and sensational move from Button. This is Button again. Nico Rosberg's the duck to the outside, but he's got the rear wing wide open, and the job done. Webber and Button catching Alonso very quickly. Gets in the slipstream, opens the rear wing. I don't think Alonso will fight that because he just doesn't have the grip. Button right on top of Alonso. Alonso lets him easily around the outside, so Button is up onto the podium. Our World Championship leader, the reigning World Champion, takes victory here at the Belgian Grand Prix. Whatever they threw at him, he could handle it.
There you go, back to the top step of the podium, Sebastian Vettel. And I guess the message from Red Bull is loud and clear. They've solved this problem they've had over the last couple of years where they've struggled a bit at low downforce circuits. And if they can do it at Spa, you can argue they could do it here at Monza.
Absolutely. They've tackled what their weakest point was. Their weakest point was overall speed in the long straights. They've tackled that. Adrian Newey has come here with a new diffuser, a new front wing. And what's happened in the qualifying session so far? Very, very fast. They look very much top of the game at the moment. It takes some effort by any team to beat them.
And talking of effort, you can see how hard they're working away here with less than 40 minutes to go until qualifying starts. But rest assured, this team will have this body on the car and they'll be ready to go. Let's talk about Lewis Hamilton, Eddie, because many people have been questioning this weekend, has he got his brain in tune with Formula One racing, or is he letting outside influences bother him? We'll hear from Lewis very shortly. We'll get his take. What's your take?
I think what he said to the journalists was a little bit of a swipe at them. You know, they've been giving him a hard time. Lewis Hamilton has been used to the high life and he's been used to the spotlight, so to speak. He's been a world champion. I don't think we're seeing anything different. I think his criticism against the journalists, I believe, will say, hey, guys, get off my back. You know I'm good. I've been around movie stars, rock stars, whatever stars you want. He knows how to cope with that. I think he's been brilliant. What I more especially like, he came out on the Monday after Spa and he apologised. He said, I've seen the tape and without question it was 100% my fault. I am so impressed with him. So therefore he really, in my mind, is in tune, and I think he'll be incredibly strong here to prove all his detractors that he means business.
And Lewis is a great guy for bouncing back from things like this. Are you expecting a strong weekend from him?
Well, that's what I say. I do believe he will bounce back. He has that enormous talent tucked away. What he just needs to do is to tidy it up. He can't keep doing what he did with Kobayashi. He can't do what happened in Canada with Jensen, his teammate. And there's a bit of a history. He just needs to drive his own race. He's already quicker than most of the people in the race. So just do his normal, natural thing, and everything will flood back into place.
OK, well, I'm afraid to say that accident was bad news for Lewis as far as the battle for the Drivers' Championship is concerned. He is now sitting in 5th position, 113 points away from Sebastian Vettel. And in the Constructors' Championship, well, it's a dominant performance so far from Red Bull this season. However, all is still to fight for, 131 points ahead of McLaren at the moment. And David is with a man who had a great race weekend in Spa. He was the second part of the 1-2 finish, Mr. Mark Webber.
Thanks, Jake. Down here with Mark Webber. Right, in Spa, just touch on that first of all. My heart was in my mouth. You hadn't actually seen the move with Fernando until after the race, presumably. Any reflections on that?
It was pretty tight at the bottom of Eau Rouge. You know what it's like, mate. It's pretty steep into there and quick. I got a good overspeed on him, good slipstream, used a bit of curves as well, and I thought, you know, may as well have a look. I'm going to be on the right side when I get into Eau Rouge, and then Fernando's obviously going to have to cooperate a little bit at the bottom. So turned out okay in the end, and then obviously had a good run up the hill and started that lap. So yeah, it was a good passing move, and great to have a battle with Fernando like that every now and again.
You make it sound as if it was just a bit of a nothing pass. You know, it was a spectacular overtake. That's one that will be replayed in years to come. What do you reckon to some of the people who said, you know, it was a bit too much, you could have waited at the top of the hill? You're not interested in any of those sort of comments?
Not really, because, you know, how often do we... Yes, you can wait, and I've done that several times this year. Yeah, you've got to be calculating here, and that's part of our job, as you know. But at that point, I thought it was definitely on, and it turned out that it was.
OK, well, that was fantastic. Back here in Monza, what can you get done here this afternoon?
Quali, we should be going pretty well, I think. I think McLaren looks strong. You never know with Fernando when it really counts. Obviously, he can do a good job as well. And Seb will be there, always is. So I think there's going to be 5 guys that are going to be pretty tight, actually. And then the race is actually another story altogether. I think that we've got different wing levels, different ratios, different DRS, non-DRS, people, how tactically they're going to try and do the Grand Prix tomorrow is going to be the main part of it. So quali will be important, but the race is going to be very, very interesting in terms of those factors that'll change the outcome.
Okay, well, interesting steer for us. Good luck this afternoon.
Cheers, mate.
And always lovely to see they make an effort here in Monza. So never a front row or a podium for Red Bull here. And I have a sneaky suspicion that these fans might just be witnessing history today, because Mark Webber is clearly a very confident guy. Right, we'll get more from the pit lane in just a moment. But first, here's Ted with all the very latest news.
Lewis Hamilton's win in Germany was the only time he's been on the podium in the last 7 races. And following his crash in Belgium, Lewis has hit back at accusations that he's been distracted by a so-called celebrity lifestyle.
You know, I live a normal life like other people. I don't understand why I can't have a relationship when everyone else can. I think it's ridiculous, and so I don't live a celebrity life. I mean, I'm in Formula 1, and so the cameras are around me, but, you know, when I go home, I live a normal life. I've got to do normal things, and I don't think they're distracting at all.
Furthermore, Hamilton's not giving up on the championship until it's mathematically impossible, despite his latest trouble at Spa.
I seem to be a great magnet for trouble at the moment, but I have been through my whole life, so I'm trying to avoid that and try and, you know, I think we can have some really good races, and there's a chance to win all 7. If you win all 7, it's mathematically possible that you could still win the championship, so I'm still hopeful.
Jenson Button will be staying at McLaren next year. The team will be taking up their option on his services. An announcement is expected soon, but in the meantime, Button is eyeing another podium this weekend.
Qualifying well is important, but it's not the fight into turn 1 that it used to be, because we have the DRS zones now, so you can play more of a game during the race, which is great.
Red Bull are in Pirelli's bad books after saying their tyres were potentially unsafe at the last race. Red Bull ran more camber than Pirelli recommended and blistered their tyres as a result. So Pirelli have now tightened up their camber limits and say they'll be more strict on the teams in future.
We got through Spa. Obviously, it was a learning curve for all of us, including Pirelli. As you say, they've given us a revised limit now, which obviously you stick to, and then we go from there.
Ferrari come to Monza with a new rear wing and other developments that they hope will give them a home win. That would come as some consolation for not winning this year's championship, but Fernando Alonso explains the standards that are expected of you if you drive for the Scuderia Ferrari.
You have to fight for the title. This is what Ferrari means and what Ferrari is racing for. But it's true that when you are second or third, as I am in the championship, it seems that a bad season, while for other team will be a nice surprise. So next year we will start again with the same determination, with the same responsibility to do well and to fight for the World Championship, and hopefully next year we can do it.
Bruno Senna has been confirmed as Nick Heidfeldt's replacement for the rest of the season after Renault came to an out-of-court settlement with their sacked German driver. Both were filling in for the recovering Robert Kubica, who hopes to be back in a race car within the next month. And finally, the FIA have confirmed next year's calendar. The Turkish Grand Prix has been dropped, leaving only 8 races in Europe. The next British Grand Prix at Silverstone is on the 8th of July 2012.
And so the British Grand Prix is now just 10 months away. Start picking up your tickets and getting excited about that one. And Eddie, looking at that calendar, double United States at the end of the year. The USA, then off to Brazil.
Yeah, it's all very exciting, but look, actually, first of all, we've got to get rid of this season. This season has, for me, been possibly the most exciting one that I can recall. It just keeps getting better and better. So before we start thinking about next year, why don't we try and make sure that this finishes off in spectacular form?
OK, we'll do that. We'll focus on this year, and part of the reason for the exciting racing, of course, has been the tyres that Pirelli have brought to the races this year, and Paul Hembury very kindly has joined us. Nice to see you, Paul. Now, we just heard from Ted there, lots of talk about tyres and camber, and Red Bull were unhappy at the last race with their tyres, and I know they were lobbying to get new tyres put on the car before the race. Can you just explain to us what camber is, why it's there, and why teams like to push the envelope with it a bit?
Well, going back to Spa, really, I think that there's a point to make there that we actually ran, as you know, 3 sessions in the rain, so the teams didn't really have their normal setup time in the dry. That was the real cause of most of the issues. Camber is basically an angle you put into the front of the tyre, so when you're in a corner, you get more footprint of the tyre. That's basically the amount of rubber that's touching the ground as you're going around the corner, so you can imagine more rubber on the ground, more grip you've got, the quicker you go. Some people have cars that can benefit from that, and they push the limits. Formula One is pushing the limits, so they don't just do it on the components of the car, they do it with the tyres as well.
Paul, if I'm right, you've made sort of certain advisory packages to the team as to what they but have you in actual fact talked about toe-in as well? Because that's probably, for me, equally as big a problem in the future.
Yeah, I mean, toe-in is, you're right, Eddie, that is important, but in this case, in this circuit, you know, a high end of straight speed, it's really the camber that, as a tyre maker, we're worried about.
Can we just explain toe-in for the people at home?
Well, Eddie, you put your toes in.
Effectively, you can run toe in or toe out. It gives you better braking at toe out.
Yeah.
Toe in actually helps to generate it, and it makes you turn in easier. You need very good front end grip here to get the car into the corner. So toe in and camber usually go hand in hand. I think that's correct, Paul. Is that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Okay. And basically, you're trying to avoid having too much of the energy going to the shoulder of the tyre, and that's what causes what you have been talking about, the blistering.
Right. So toe in is the tyre facing in slightly. Toe out is the tyre facing out. Okay.
Yeah, I think you just need to, you know, we've all seen people
Yes,
who walk
exactly.
like that. They're running a lot of toe out when they're going.
He walks like a duck, Paul. Please don't worry about it.
I've heard it being said.
Just to explain to the layman, what would a road car have in camber versus the sort of high levels of camber we're seeing here in Formula
Well, a normal
1?
road car, when you barely see it, you can see these cars as they're going out the pit lane. You know, the tyres are leaning over in dramatic fashion. You normally see it in touring car racing. That's where you see a heck of a lot of camber because the suspension really has no chance of recovering itself. So it's bizarre maybe to see it so much on the front of a Formula One car, but this year they've been trying to break the tyres, to be honest. I mean, that's the other aspect. The tyres have been so robust, and that means that they can push the limits, hence why the camber levels have been going up and up and up.
Okay, I enjoy this nice cat and mouse game between the suppliers and the teams, but thank you very much for joining us. Excellent. And I suppose that all the fans will be hoping that one team can look after their tyres and get to the finish of the race before anybody else, and that team, yes, is Ferrari. When they come here, they're reminded of their glorious past. And talking of their glorious past, I headed to the place where the Ferrari cars are born, with not just a couple of cars, but a couple of famous faces as well, because, of course, Ferrari are always chasing that World Championship dream. It's amazing, actually, when you come to this place. You get the sense of history that Ferrari enjoys. And it's not just the cars that Ferrari are famous for, of course. It's also the drivers. And here we are with a former Ferrari World Champion, along with a man who, before too long, would like to be the next in a long line of Ferrari World Champions, Fernando Alonso and John Surtees. Fernando, what's it like when you take a look at the kind of car that Ferrari were rolling out of their factory 40 years ago?
Interesting to see how Formula One develops and how we ended up now in these days and how different it looks. But essentially, there is 4 tyres, 1 engine, 1 driver.
A lot stays the same, John, and a lot changes as well in Formula One. Can you believe, actually, how much the sport has moved on?
This sort of technology was basically of the 30s. 30s, 50s, you basically have 3 fuel tanks held together by a bunch of tubes around it, which hold on 4 wheels, but it was the car of the time. Yeah. So we didn't go along and say, oh dear, we need all that technology, because we didn't know about it. Here is a team of 1964 in its entirety, including our chief engineer and our team manager. 11. For 2 cars, mind you. For 2 cars.
And how many have you got now on your 2 cars?
I don't know, I think 350, 400.
Do you fancy jumping in, Fernando, and seeing whether a modern driver would fit in a classic car? What do you think?
Right. There's plenty of room in that one.
There is, exactly. It's not such a tight fit as the cars you get now.
Yeah. Great big steering wheel. Yeah.
I mean, the first thing that springs to mind is you guys are so much better protected now in the cars, aren't you?
Yeah, I think safety is one of the things that...
the big, yes.
Yeah, he goes better. I miss seat belts. I miss a couple of safety things now here. Yeah.
So
not much information here.
If we rest that there, I mean, that is just a snapshot of what's happened in Formula One in 40 years. That is just, it's just incredible.
I think the style of driving as well. Before was much more, you know, the driver or the sensation, the feeling. Now is more you are like a robot, that you do all your things, automatic maneuvers that you learn.
How would you feel, John, if this was the way that you were racing now? I mean, are you comfortable that Formula One has gone this complicated in many ways?
I think that Formula One should be an example of technology advancement, etc. I think it's wrong to try and restrict it and dumb it down.
Yeah.
So I welcome many of these things.
And what I love about this car, Fernando, is that pretty much for 3 or 4 years, this car didn't change very much. You get almost a different car now, week on week on week.
Every race, yeah, every race it looks different from the outside and different to drive as well. And when you go to the racetrack, you want to see overtakings and racing drivers, big brands racing each other. And maybe we went a little bit too far in terms of technology, but it's the way it is. Not bad.
It's like you've never been
Don't
away.
try and tell me all the buttons. I'm going nowhere. The word you said, actually, it's 4 wheels connected together, isn't it?
Yeah.
And whatever we have to try and get around the circuit as quick as we can.
Britain's John Surtees roars on in front.
Fernando Alonso wins the British Grand Prix.
This team have won so many world championships, they've crowned so many world champions, and they need more. They feed off that here, don't they?
When you drive for this team, you know that you have to deliver. If not, people will be disappointed. But we accept that, and we know that we need to win, and this is our job and our destiny, hopefully.
What you see today with Ferrari is absolutely incredible, and something which would have made Mr. Ferrari very happy in what he had sown the seeds for.
Lovely. And from 2 Ferrari winners to another one, John Alesi, who spent 5 seasons racing for the Scuderia and picked up a win with them as well. But talking of wins, John, very nice of you to allow David to win here back in 1997 when you came second.
Well, it was not like that. He really deserved. It was a tough race. We were together for the first stop. I managed to keep him behind, but then he took the lead, and I tried very hard, but no chance to be back on the lead.
I got to say, you're such a nice guy. You've been such a great ambassador for Formula 1. I almost feel guilty to have taken away the Italian
I
victory
wouldn't believe
for
him
you.
if I were you. Don't believe a word he says.
Really, it was hard for me because I love so much Monza. I wanted to win, but you know, he deserved.
A win here is special, but a win for Ferrari is special. Just take us back to the win in your career, which was of course, driving for Ferrari. We can see it here in Canada. What's it like winning for this team?
Well, you know, I remember so well from Friday on to have all the support from the public. It was really magic to drive for Ferrari in Monza, but you know, it was a difficult time. The car was the reliability of the engine, gearbox, everything was not yet together, but I try hard, and the public always help.
And you get a lift from Michael Schumacher as well into the bargain.
Yeah, that was an extra gift from my win.
It was an extra special weekend because another lap, Jordan would have finished first and second, but we finished second and third, and Jean being on the top podium, it was a very emotional day for me, I must say. I was overjoyed for Jean. He was with Jordan in those early days, and a nicer guy you couldn't have in your car, I can promise you that. He's a real spectacular guy, and to win, he made everyone so happy.
Only Eddie could turn that conversation round to a potential win for Jordan. But just tell us what it's like to drive for Ferrari. How great is the pressure to deliver and succeed on a driver personally?
You know, I think it can be really similar as when you play for a national team and you have to kick for a World Cup penalty. So it is like that every lap.
Like playing for Norwich City. The players feel it all the time. Sean, nice to chat. Thank you very much. Enjoy the weekend. And yes, I'm sure you can catch up and talk more about the Jordan days in great detail. But talking about victory around here, what's the one thing you need? You need a powerful engine. The cars are on full throttle for 75% of the lap, but strong engines has always been key in Formula One.
The Ford Cosworth DFV. Born in 1967, it's the most successful engine in Formula One history. Winning over 150 races, it was an engine that powered a golden generation.
It's over the line together, and it's almost a dead heat. It's Jackie Stewart. Nobody has ever seen the finish of a motor race like that.
It was a fantastic engine. working in any kind in first gear, second, third, easy to drive.
We still apply many of the engineering principles that were deployed in racing engines for the first time in that engine. But of course, it was a product of its time.
Each of these 3-litre engines has cost Williams £26,000.
Today's Cosworth, £200,000. But gone are the days of qualifying engines used for an hour and then thrown away. A modern engine will do around 1,600 miles before it's worn out and rebuilt. That's Land's End to John O'Groats and back again.
The engines have to be reliable. I mean, these days you have to make sure that you're there at the finish to win a championship. Now, it's rare that you'll see engines actually fail in a race.
Each driver is only allowed 8 engines per season. So Engine 1, for example, will do the races in Australia and Malaysia, while Engine 7 will only do the race here in Monza and in Korea, as opposed to Engine 8, which will be used for 3 events at the end of the season. That's because Monza is the hardest track on the engine, ahead of the circuits in Montreal and Melbourne. The easiest are the street tracks of Monaco and Singapore. Today's engine standardisation has meant the end of variety. Gone is the Ferrari V12 that screamed at Monza, and the roar of the V10. And many think that's a shame.
The V12 engine of Ferrari is the historic engine that was really incredible. What was in the mind of Mr. Ferrari was really the fact that every part of the car needed to be evolved. And unfortunately, on that respect, there is a lot of limitation around the development of the engine that you can do now with the active regulation.
I miss the V12. I would say that our Western culture promotes differences, and this is one of the value of our life. So yes, as being technical, I love differences.
The engine's the beating heart of a car, the thing that turns a tub of carbon fibre and metal into a fire-breathing animal.
It's not by accident that motorsport is called motorsport. The engine is the heart of a living, breathing racing car. A Formula One car, when you stick a starter up its rump and make it make a noise, it's a big, violent event that makes everybody sit up and take notice.
And it still makes people take notice. We're regularly blasted out of the pit lane by the engines, even though now they're just the V8s rather than the roaring V12s that you heard spoken about there. How impressed have you been, though, with the fact that Formula One have learned, and they've had to learn, to make engines last just 8 in any given season? It wasn't a natural thing for the sport, was it?
No, it never was a natural thing, and there's some people, the real hardcore would still like to hear the V12s, no doubt about that, and even the V16s in years gone further by. But at the end of the day, we all have to be mindful about this earth that we live in. We have to be quite concerned. We have to be passionate about conservation and various other things. So the V8 is the sensible approach. More especially is the longevity of the engine. We need to be sure that people are more reliable in their road cars and the race cars in every aspect of life.
Yeah, nice to see Sir Jackie Stewart here at the race as well. David, before we move on, you have to just tell everybody at home the story that you told me after we said goodbye to Jean Alesi. Go on.
Well, first of all, on the engines, I think the big thing that's made the difference in controlling the reliability is controlling the RPM. So they're all limited to 18,000 because in the years gone past, you just kept pushing the boundaries there. Now, what I said about Jean is in my first race in Imola 95, he was behind me and wasn't happy that I wouldn't let him pass. And after the race, he came to me and was poking me in the chest saying, "You're the most incorrect driver I ever raced against," just because I didn't let him past. But thankfully, we shared some great moments after that as well.
Brilliant. You were incorrect for beating him. That was the problem,
yes,
wasn't
it? Indeed. Beating him at the San Marino Grand Prix.
How dare you?
Very passionate when they're in Italy.
How dare you do that to him? Well, the reason why we walked away from their garage there was because the engine was about to roar up. In fact, it's the engine of a certain Bruno Senna, who's back in Formula One and racing for Renault. He had a fantastic performance in qualifying in Spa last time out a couple of weeks ago, his best qualifying and race performance of his career. He's keen to prove to Formula One that they've yet to see the real Bruno Senna and that he's certainly more than just a name.
It was a difficult situation because the type of perception I was getting from my performance was very poor, and sometimes the car didn't allow me to put a proper performance in. Sometimes there was some lack of experience. I was absolutely frightened about that. And it came to the point where I started this year with no job. Fortunately, someone remembered something good, and it was Eric Boulier.
Bruno Senna with a steep learning curve here this weekend.
I don't think it could be any better than starting at Spa. I mean, in the middle of the season, it's always difficult to start, but fortunately for me, Spa is a good circuit.
Bruno Senna, what can he do? He's right up there too. Senna, 7th, well inside the top 10, good effort.
It was a great result in qualifying. I think it was pretty unexpected to be that high up in my first qualifying session.
5 lights, and then the La Source hairpin awaits.
Bruno Senna showing that he's a little bit race rusty.
I came to the first corner and I didn't brake late, I just didn't brake hard enough. Here we are fighting for points, and last year we were trying to finish the race. It was a different approach. So maybe I should have been a bit more careful because I didn't know exactly what the car was capable of doing. But I never got involved in the first corner crashes before. That was unfortunately my first time. And now I have a better reference to build up from. The important thing to take from that race is that I did the whole race, and the performance was really good, and the team were happy. Monza is one of those tracks where precision is king. You need to be precise, and it's very difficult to be precise when the car is moving around because you have less downforce. Every time you go around this track, you think, I didn't get it right, I need to get it right next lap. And then you get something else wrong. And it's just a never-ending chase for the right lap. And I think Ayrton was not too bad here, had a pretty good success, and he was loved here by the Italians, but within the McLaren and Ferrari fight, he was on the downside. It will be very difficult here because it's always racing is close, the race is exciting, but the guys with more racing mileage will have a bit of an advantage.
And with less than 15 minutes to go until qualifying starts, we've made our way out of the pit lane, out here to the paddock, the hot paddock, where you can see Vitaly Petrov gearing up to go and climb into his car and go qualifying. However, he's got a different teammate, hasn't he? The team decided to drop Nick Heidfeld, put Bruno Senna in the car, and it seemed after Spa that was something of an inspired decision, Eddie.
Well, look, I was one of those people who was critical of the team at the time, and who's to say they were the clever people in the end, because A, Bruno Senna brought a great qualifying lap, and that is the fundamental reason I think that they went for that. But more importantly to the team, they brought extra cash. He brought sponsors. We've seen the car is already littered with sponsors coming from Brazil, and that's a very important aspect in current modern day Formula One.
And I'm sure for a young driver it's tricky to retain your focus, particularly when you come to someone like this. We've seen Kevin Peterson knocking around, we've seen JK from Jamiroquai. Lots of stars come and gather here, but Bruno has to keep his mind on the job, and he's asked the team to be hard on him. What does he mean by that?
Well, I think a team naturally would be hard on a driver if he's not performing anyway, so I don't think he needs to encourage them how to manage their team. I think he's well prepared to be in the environment of Formula One. He's grown up with it. He's one of the most famous uncles in the history of the sport. He's been surrounded by celebrities, so in many ways this is a natural environment, and now it's all about delivering behind the wheel. I agree with Eddie, his performance in qualifying in Spa certainly made a lot of people sit up and take notice. A little bit of race rusty at the beginning of the race. We'll not hold that against him.
Understandable?
It's understandable. You know, 160 kilos running into the first corner at La Source. I don't know what that feels like. I've never driven with full tanks in Formula One. So I would be a little bit race rusty even after 15 seasons in Formula One. So let's see how he performs this weekend. OK, now, we've noticed something, David, and it needs a little bit of explanation. This man cannot keep his hands off the other Formula One drivers. Have a look at the evidence that we've gathered over the past few weeks. He had a bit of a cake fight with Sebastian Vettel, and then we sent him off around the track. He decided to have a cuddle with Jenson Button. I'm really not sure what our two commentators were up to there before he sorted out Michael's shirt. How very kind of him. David, what is going on? Why can't you keep your hands to yourself? Just love racing drivers. That's why I became one. I just wanted to be close with them.
Mr. Tactile, they call him in short. Mr. Tactile. We love you for that, David. But you don't touch me up. What's the problem, David? Am I not the right camera. Age group? Oh, I see. OK.
Let's move on, shall we? Because David went round the track with someone who I'm guessing is in the right age group, Jaime Alguersuari, because this is how the track guide began.
You're from a country where everyone's very affectionate.
Yeah.
So
normally we used to hug.
You hug? Shall we? Shall we hug?
Come on.
Now, what I think is quite remarkable is that you were born in 1990 You know, this great historic racetrack here, the original one, you know, it's like prehistoric in comparison to the Grand Prix that you would have watched. You would never have come here as a kid?
No, I've never seen racing in the old track here. Yeah. Never.
Have you been out at the old track?
I've been in one piece of the old track when it used to be this big banking, but I've never seen the racing here. No.
This is the start of the famous banking.
It's crazy.
Can you comprehend having raced on this?
No way. I could imagine if you have some oversteer on this banking area, how would you feel?
Go first, bring up here. But it is quite remarkable when you see the drop down to the first chicane, the sense of history you have in Monza. Is that something that's important to, you know, your generation? Do you care about the 50s?
I think it's something cool because you know that it has been something here in the past which the racing was incredible, and so it's not like you feel when you go to India or these places where the tracks are new and you don't feel anything. So it makes it very cool.
So Jaime, we've stopped down at the entry to Ascari. We've done a fast track past the second chicane, past the two Lesmos, because you've decided they're not as exciting as this corner. What is quite surprising that you pointed out when we arrived here is how flat the curb here is.
It's crazy. You can take much room as you like, and this is what we like because you can take much more speed than normally. And
have the car
almost,
right up here.
Yeah, almost all car. I mean, you always need to respect the what is legal and what is illegal. So you always need to have two wheels on the white line and never put all the four wheels around here. I'll try maybe one lap, but it won't work. And you do it flat out.
Low fuel, new tyres, attacking these fast corners.
Yeah. I love it when the car is low fuel with new tyres. It's so good.
So we're coming to the end of the lap now, exiting Parabolica. I used to love the run out here. This was one of the fastest points of the track, down past the start finish.
Well, I think it's a cool...
Hey.
The phone.
That's a very traditional song for a young man to have on. Why was
that?
It's
the piano.
Do you play piano?
No, I don't play. I play electronic piano when I'm in the studio.
That was one thing I wanted to ask you about because what is it, DJ Squire? Is that your...
No, DJ, I don't like the word DJ.
Yeah, you don't
say Squire.
Squire. Okay, so explain that to me because obviously I'm of a generation that I don't know all that stuff. So you're like Mr. Squire or this Squire?
No, I'm who I am. I'm Rasuari, and but I have another life, which is music. I'm called the Squire because this is the way I want to show the people my sound, not being a Formula One driver who, you know, plays.
So are you ever thinking music when you're out driving the car?
It's something that you have in your mind and it's an emotion. When you drive the car, you know this. You drive the car, you feel adrenaline, you feel that you are the boss, you feel that you're God. But then you take off the helmet and you realize that you're not.
Felt that.
Yeah, okay.
I never felt like the boss.
I do feel I'm a superhero when I drive it. I want that people understand my emotion and they can feel what I feel, you know? And music is the way to do it.
Okay, well, one thing you are is an F1 driver.
Yeah.
So the man formerly known as a DJ, no longer known as a DJ, just known as the Squire, Grand Prix driver. Good luck this weekend. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
A disappointing lack of a cuddle at the end there. Well, that was quite a normal track guide and then suddenly turned into a kind of Eric Cantona-esque interview. Do you like drivers having these mad passions away from the racing? Is it important, do you think?
I think it's more important for them because, you know, the high pressure that they are surrounded by here in a paddock and you know, the whole world looking at them, whether it's TV, radio, media, whatever it is, they need to get their own time. They need to chill. In my day, I used to go off in a little rowing boat or any type of boat. I just felt in touch with the sea, different elements. That gave it to me. His is clearly music, and I can understand that very well because I'm passionate about that anyway. But everyone has a different thing, but they do need to get away to make sure they find their own space.
And whatever you do, don't call him DJ Squire or you'll be in trouble. Right, let's talk about qualifying then. Martin Whitmarsh is with Ted Kravitz. How can McLaren go today? Been a tough weekend so far. Let's find out.
Well, Martin, tell us what kind of shape are McLaren in going into qualifying?
Well, we don't know. I think we looked strong yesterday. It was a tough session this morning. I think we're definitely competitive. Red Bull looked strong. Ferrari looked stronger than they did yesterday. Mercedes look like they're in the hunt as well. So that's great for the sport. And I think we'll have an exciting qualifying now. We believe we're quick enough to be on the front row. I'd very much like us to be on pole.
Okay, have a good session. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, certainly Jenson Button would like to improve on 13th place, which is what he picked up in Spa in qualifying. Martin Whitmarsh says it's great for the sport to have such an exciting, close battle at the moment. But for these fans, the tough thing is Red Bull looked the quickest of the three fast teams.
Very noble of Martin to say such a thing, but I know deep down he is so passionate about his own team, as indeed he should be. But there is no more passionate group on this planet than what you're envisaging there in front of you. It's the whole Tifosi. Everything that surrounds about Italy, its passion, the speed, Monza, everything revolves around their car. Ferrari, that's all they care about. Doesn't matter where the drivers come from, Ferrari is their idol.
And who knows, maybe lifted on the shoulders of the Tifosi, Ferrari can just find that extra speed to give us an amazing qualifying session round here. Right, here we go then. 24 cars to start with. The 7 slowest drivers are about to be knocked out. Time to join Martin Brundle and David Coulthard here in Monza.